Well, he is talking the talk and walking the walk. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Tesla CEO Elon Musk buying a quote-unquote passive stake of Twitter, which amounts to about 9.2%. We'll get into the actual dollar amount a little bit later in the video, but first, I got to back up here to explain to you what's going on, just so we're on the same page with each other and so you have full and proper context. Now, Elon Musk is a really big social media guy. He has like 60 million or so followers on Twitter, and he's very active on the platform. He's been very critical of the platform as well, talking about how they don't really adhere to free speech and a lot of things that should be allowed aren't allowed. People are put in, I guess you would say, Twitter jail for some of the most small things that are kind of politically incorrect. And as a matter of fact, he conducted a poll on the platform. And I'll put it on the screen right quick for you guys. You see right here, it says, free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. This is what he says in his poll. And the question is, do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle? And you have 29.6% that say yes, 70.4% that say no. That's out of 2,035,924 votes. So quite a few people that responded to this, and polls generally last for like a day. So this wasn't over a very long period of time. In 24 hours, you have 2 million people that voted. So Elon Musk is pretty influential on the platform. Matter of fact, 80 million followers. So quite a few followers, a really big presence on the platform. He's been very critical of it. He wants more free speech. He doesn't want Twitter to be putting you in Twitter jail over the smallest thing. So he was going to originally start his own platform. That was, he wanted to go the Donald Trump route with Truth Social or things like Parler and Gab and whatnot. So I think rather than going that direction, he has taken a quote unquote passive stake into twitter.com, which I think is a good idea. And I'll explain why in a minute. But first, let's get to this article to get to the minutia, to get down to the nitty gritty and all the good details of how much he paid and etc. You see the headline right here. And of course, this article will be in the description box, but it says Twitter shares soar more than 29% after Elon Musk takes 9% stake in social media company. And it says Musk owns 73,486,938 shares of Twitter, which represents a 9.2% passive stake in the company, according to Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, 13G filing released Monday. The stake is worth $2.89 billion with a B. So I'm not sure if that's the valuation now after the rise in the stock recently. I'll talk about that in a minute. You see right there at the bottom, that's kind of the spoiler alert. That's what happened after Elon Musk purchased. I'm not sure if that's what he bought it for or what it's valued at right now. But even if that's the rise, the 25% rise, he still spent over $1 billion, probably over $2 billion to purchase a piece of Twitter. Okay. Now that was the closing price on Friday. Okay. So it's probably gone up today, which is Monday. And then the next thing here says the Musk buy comes less than 2 weeks after Musk criticized the company, polling people on Twitter about whether Twitter adheres to free speech principles. Now, I just showed you that poll a little while ago. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of skim through this right here and see if it has anything. Oh, here's something that's pretty important. The purchase comes less than 2 weeks after he criticized the company, polling. And then the quote here says, given that Twitter serves as the de facto public town square, failing to adhere to free speech principles fundamentally undermines democracy, Musk tweeted. What should be done? So he's asking people what should be done with the platform before he actually took any kind of financial stake in it, right? Now, they are saying, here's the actual tweet right there. And again, this will be in the description box. They are calling this a quote unquote passive stake, meaning he doesn't have any control. He doesn't actually own Twitter. He just has a stake in the company. But I don't think it's going to stop right here. I think it's going to go a lot further than this. Okay, now let's read this right here. While it is classified as a passive stake, investors were bidding shares higher on the chance this could lead to something else or something more. Twitter stock surged more than 29% in the afternoon. Quote, Musk could try to take a more aggressive stance here on Twitter, which analyst Dan I said Monday on CNBC Squawk Box. This eventually could lead to some sort of buyout. Quote, this makes sense given what Musk has at least been talking about, at least from a social media perspective. Okay, and no comment from Twitter.com itself, from the management or anybody else. Okay, now here's something right here. On August 7th, 2018, Musk tweeted that he had, quote, funding secured to take Tesla private at $420 per share. Okay, that's just Tesla talking about that. That's a whole different animal right there, talking about Tesla and the federales and electric cars and whatever. But that's very interesting that Elon Musk now owns a share of Twitter. Now, again, it's a passive stake, quote unquote passive, even at almost $3 billion, quote unquote passive. But he probably will go further. He probably wants to have control over the company to some extent. Now, I'm going to say something here that might be a little bit controversial for conservative people or for advocates of free speech online. I think Twitter is pretty good at preserving free speech. Not perfect, obviously some very glaring flaws, but they're pretty good at preserving free speech. And I'm going to explain to you why. See, the thing about Twitter is that there's a lot of people on there posting a lot of stuff. You can see and read quite a few things on Twitter you probably couldn't see or read anywhere else. Okay, like most TV stations, radio stations would not allow a fraction of what Twitter allows. Okay, and I don't want to get too graphic, but there's quite a few things on there that I wish I could unsee, but I can't, unfortunately. So Twitter is not necessarily that bad against free speech. The problem is that they get political. Now, I'm not sure if that's because of their internal pressure from their employees, upper level management, at the top, the CEO, back when it was Jack. I'm not sure who it is now. I'm not sure where that comes from. Is it internal or external or a combination of both? Because a prime example of what happens with Twitter is the whole Hunter Biden story. Remember when Hunter Biden's story came out? He's a crack smoking son of the presidential candidate back in 2020. When that story came out from New York Post, a well-respected, reputable paper, you could not post that on Twitter. That was censored, literally censored. And in my humble opinion, that impacted the election. Now, that is what they do. They do stuff like that. But the first question is, who is responsible for that? I know ultimately it's Twitter.com that made the decision, because you go to the website, you go to the app, you can't post a story. Ultimately, it's them that did that. It's not anyone else that actually physically did it. But who's responsible? Is it the people on the inside, those that simply don't like Donald Trump, that want Biden to win? Or is it outside pressure from the federales saying, hey, don't post that. Don't you dare do it. There's going to be some consequences. You won't get a subsidy. You're going to get a lawsuit. You're going to get tighter scrutiny from whatever kind of alphabet letter company. You're going to get audited by the IRS. They're going to be on your back for 10 years. Who's responsible for that happening? I think it might have been a combination of both internal people and also external pressure. So at a certain point, it's like, what can be done with things like that, right? I think even Jack, the former CEO of Twitter, came out and said that that was a mistake and he doesn't really know who did it. Of course, he'll say that. He didn't want to throw anybody under the bus. I'm sure he knows who did it because somebody had to do it. It can't be an unknown person that made that call to go ahead and ban the story involving Hunter Biden smoking crack in the New York Times. Somebody did that, but he doesn't want to say because of reasons, right? But I digress. The whole point is that I think Twitter gets a lot of pressure from Washington, D.C., from the political people, both locally and nationally. I think it's less of an internal thing, although that's a problem as well. And that's to my next point. Let's say Elon Musk is able to successfully have a controlling stake in Twitter, which he doesn't right now, but he could. I guess that's possible in the future. Kind of a hostile takeover type situation. Now, if he does something like that, then what's going to be the result? Will Twitter change? And how much will they change? Will they change for the worse or for the better? Because there could be some good quality of life changes. How about I don't get suspended for a joke about Rachel Levine playing football back in 1973 with Mark Milley? How about I don't get suspended for that? How about I don't have important news blocked away from me? Those are some pretty important changes that should be made, in my humble opinion. But what if Elon goes in a different direction and bans some things you may like? I ain't going to say what they are, but it start with a P and end with an N. They got an OR in the middle. People are watching that on Twitter. I'm not saying you go do that, but it is there. So what if he says, okay, we're going to be really conservative over here and we're going to ban that from the platform? See, now people that watch that on there are going to be upset. So you got to be able to, who are you going to be able to please? I'm not really sure, but I think ultimately being able to speak about political issues should be preserved. I think you should focus on that. Don't try to go too far. Look, Elon, if you listen to me right now, if you're watching or you hear the sound of my voice, listen to this. Don't mess with things that aren't necessarily broken. And I don't mean the adult stuff. That's different. I'm talking about just the way that Twitter works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But what you need to focus on is the political stuff, the political harassment. Because I'm conservative, I can't say certain things. I'm getting shadow banned for it, and my posts are getting blocked for it. That should be the main thing. And I gotta add one last point before I wrap it on up. Put the bow on the top. He was talking about starting his own platform. I think Donald Trump has Truth Social. Others have things like Parler, Gab, all the other Twitter clones. People are not going to go to those generally because the average normie does not have time to juggle all the different apps, to juggle Twitter and Gab and Parler and Truth Social. It's just too much. They want to go to one app. I know people that go to one app only, and that's the whole internet experience. They don't go to no websites unless it comes from the app. They log on to Twitter, and that's it. Facebook, and that's it. Instagram, and that's it. YouTube.com, and that's it. So having all these separate platforms for a small niche audience, to me, does not make sense. You want to get with the best platform, make it better, make it more available, and stop having the biggest source of quick info like that be corrupted by Washington, D.C. or by internal forces. Okay, that's like saying, all right, we have 1, 2, maybe 3 channels on TV, and rather than just improving those, we're going to try and fail to make a 4th one. I just don't. If people are watching one channel, maybe up to 3 the most, and yours is dead last by a long shot, it's not even anywhere in the same league. How about we improve where most eyes are? Improve that, because that's the most important for the future of our country. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Elon Musk did here? Is it going to go anywhere? Is he going to go further with it? Will he have a controlling stake in the company? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I think this is pretty interesting. But again, don't go too far changing stuff. Just change what needs to be changed if you're able to change it. If you will or not, I'm not really sure. As of right now, he does not have any control over the company. You don't own 51%. You're just a minority stakeholder, essentially. I mean, I say that, but that's like $3 billion. I couldn't just, quote unquote, just be a minority stakeholder in Twitter.com. I couldn't do it. Elon Musk can because he has the money. But hopefully he goes further. I don't want him to start a Tesla social media app. Don't do that. Focus on the big dogs and improve them. That's what it should be. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.